Hi there, my name is Ahmed. I am a director, previously a manager who oversaw 40 employees or direct reports. I like to go on Reddit and help other managers with their challenges. So today's problem is very interesting. This manager posted a problem on Reddit where he described a challenge with one of his direct employees, saying that they're struggling with mental health issues. This mental health issue is preventing them from sometimes showing up to work and needs special accommodations. The thing is that these issues seem to be getting out of hand or they are happening frequently, and this manager is struggling in approaching this employee with these problems. So, what's my advice for them, or what would I do if I was in their position? First, I really have to admit that this is a tough one. There's no single standard for suffering from mental health issues. People suffer from these issues differently, and it's hard to find one single approach that will accommodate all of them. The causes of mental health issues might differ. Some of them are short term, meaning a person might be grieving the loss of a loved one, and some of them might be long term. As a result, there's no one single framework that will help you in approaching all of them. You just have to understand what are you dealing with, what's your business like, what are your policies, and how can you use all of that to help that employee in overcoming their problems and be able to deliver value for your company. With that being said, I think it boils down to three cases. The first one is where these issues are happening infrequently, meaning that person might only need some sort of days off, or they only raise it with you for maybe twice or three times a year. I think that's very easy and straightforward to deal with, and maybe you don't need any special intervention. You just need to understand what are your HR policies, and does it allow for that employee to take some days off, or maybe just take some paid days off from your balance. But what if these issues happen very frequently, where it's not only 3 days a year, but you're talking about 10, 20, maybe even 30 days a year? What would you do then? I think there are two cases here. The first case is that you're dealing with a special status employee, and the other one where that employee does not have that special status. But what does it mean to have a special status? A special status employee, in my opinion, would be an employee who might enjoy some exceptional treatment from their organization given their previous achievements and how they impacted that organization positively, or better yet, how they impacted their bottom line positively, where they earned that exceptional treatment. One example comes to mind, who is Steve Kerr, the head coach of the Warriors, which is an NBA team. So after his first year, where he won the NBA championship again in his first year, he suffered from an illness that prevented him from training with the team or even attending games. And this lasted for a very long time. He was absent from many games, and his assistant coach had to step in and train the team and lead them through these games. Now, if you're Steve Kerr and you won your first championship for an organization that hasn't won in many decades, especially in your first season, you kind of warranted that exceptional treatment. Not only did the organization invest a lot of money in you by bringing you in and paying you a high salary, but you brought them an achievement that they haven't enjoyed for many decades. Hence, again, warranting that treatment. And I think approaching such employees in your organization who have a well-known reputation for being very impactful is quite easy. It's easy to advocate for them when their historical performances and reputation already do that for them. I think all you need to do is just align with the main stakeholders, again, including HR, understand the situation that they're going through. Is it okay, if it's going to happen frequently, how long is that going to last? And what can we do for you until you come up to speed, or you can go back to your normal way of operating? And what I would do finally is also check up on them, maybe on a monthly basis, see how they're doing. Are they progressing in overcoming this challenge or coming back to a normal state of operating? But the third and final case is, let's say it happens very frequently, maybe 30 days or more, and for an employee who doesn't have that special status in your company. Now, this is going to be a tricky one, but this is what I would do. Again, as a manager, you have a duty towards your company. You're expected to play a positive role in ensuring its stability, its continuity, and its financial stability, most importantly. Again, without having that, there's no company to be operating, and then suddenly you're talking about tens or hundreds of employees not having a job. So you have to keep that in mind. Secondly, your responsibility then is to support your team and ensuring they are productive and they can deliver. So with that being said, how will you approach this employee? Firstly, understand the situation in detail. Again, it's easy. Just have one-on-one with them, understand what they're going through, what triggered this, and what's a normal day for them given what they're going through. Secondly, encourage them to see a professional. This is very important. You want a professional diagnosis and also a professional treatment on how to overcome this challenge. Not only will it help the employee in getting better help and ensuring that they can overcome this challenge and come back to a normal state, but also as a company, you also need that professional insight into this problem. Hopefully, once you have that information, once they also have that information, sit with HR and agree on a framework that is suitable for all parties, especially, again, the company. Why am I saying the company? I'm not diminishing the importance of these problems and how it impacts an individual. But again, if a company is not sustaining its operations, you risk not even having a company at the end of the day that will continue employing the rest of the people within this organization. That framework should address multiple points. First, what are the responsibilities that this individual can still take up given their challenge and given their struggle? Secondly, if there was a day where that employee couldn't work, should they take a day off or should they compensate those hours later on? Again, this is where HR really needs to be there as part of this question and this conversation. And thirdly, what happens with the work? If they take days off, should somebody else take up that work? Or if they just take some time off, meaning just a few hours, should they compensate those hours later on and they deliver that work later on? Now, this really depends on the type of work that this person is doing. Is it a knowledge-based work, meaning you're doing some engineering work or design work, and just what I care about are not the days or the hours, but more importantly, the work itself, and you can deliver that work whenever you can, given a certain time period. However, if the nature of work is hourly based, maybe you need to make up for these hours one way or another. And again, that's quite hard. It really depends on the nature of work, what HR policies say, and what this person can actually do. Now, once you have that framework and you address these main points, and there might be additional points to address, it really depends on what your policies are for your company and what kind of work you do. Then you have a plan. And all parties are now aligned on what they expect from each other. But one last point, which is very tricky. How long is this going to last for? Is this a very long-term problem, or is it going to just last for maybe a year or two? Now, there's no one answer that's going to resolve all of this, regardless of the mental health issue. And this is where I think you need to get into a lot of conversations and check up on them on a frequent basis, just to start to understand how long is this going to last for. Now, health issues can be very crippling, whether it's mental or physical related. And not only is it crippling for their work, it can be crippling also for their personal life. Now, hopefully that employee is doing something about it. Now, again, regardless of the problem, you need that professional help. Because ideally speaking, again, this is what I would think any person would do, or maybe I would encourage them to do so, is get that professional help so that this problem is not crippling. I think what really matters here is just checking up on that employee, supporting them, but also seeing whether they are still getting that help and they really want to overcome this problem. Now, the person who posted this problem was complaining about this employee succumbing to that negativity. It's really easy to judge that the person is succumbing to that negativity, but what I would actually try to look for here, do they really want to overcome this problem, and are they taking the right steps to overcome this problem? Again, the right steps, it's not a single standard across all mental health issues, but definitely getting professional help and doing something about it. It's going to put you at ease in trusting that employee is actually doing something about it. Now, why does this matter? It's because, again, maybe that long-term accommodation is not sustainable. And after a while, the value of that employee is going to diminish and their cost is just going to be higher than what they bring to the table. And that's going to be a tough situation to deal with for your organization and for that employee. So while that point might be very far ahead, it might be a year or two from now, just seeing that they're getting help and supporting them and ensuring that they bring value to the company is what will really matter here. I think there are a lot of frameworks that I mentioned here and some high-level points. What I would do is just try to get as much information as possible, check up on them frequently, and maybe modify my plan as I receive different information and see different feedback from whatever plan I set up with that employee and with HR. I've never dealt with this before, but this is what I would do if I was facing this. I'm wondering if any of you face this, and if so, would love to hear what you have to say.